Hello and welcome to Morgana Radio, where I, your host Morgana Ray, interview the world's most fascinating thought leaders on money, love, and magic. And you are going to go wild for today's guest, Kathleen Zemansky. Today's topic is why business astrology. And Kathleen Zemansky is a business feng shui master who has dedicated to helping conscious business and individuals harness the power of ancient wisdom, the classical feng shui disciplines, and Chinese metaphysics to optimize their success in business and in life. This is really old stuff. And honestly, if you think that world leaders today don't consult astrology, you are totally missing the boat. So Kathleen specializes in business feng shui. Her astrology and good timing programs use tools to empower her clients to follow their unique birth map, to optimize their physical workspace, and to use their greatest strengths at the right times and achieve their personal and business goals to craft their destiny. Months ago, I was interviewing a romantic astrologer on this show, and she said something that I really love that really applies here is if you're an apple tree and you're not producing apples, all of the self-recrimination and guilt and courses and coaches are not going to make you give apples if it's not apple season. So what Kathleen does is she helps you know when your apple season is in your business to get the best results in your endeavors. So Kathleen has developed her proven date selection technology. It's called Time Blazer. I subscribe to it. It's a business management system, and she will email you her updates every month so that you know what the best days are to launch a new program or just stay home. She has her own business astrology software to increase efficiency, productivity, and accountability for her clients. And she specializes in entrepreneurs and professionals. Kathleen also has her own radio program, Illuminating Feng Shui, powered by Voice America Business Channel. So today, what we're going to be talking about is why business astrology. Because the truth is, whether you struggle or success in business depends on your alignment with yourself. You were born with a business DNA, and it's your birthright to understand who you are and use that knowledge to create a successful business that is uniquely yours. Otherwise, it can be so painful trying to be somebody else, and it doesn't work. Kathleen uses Chinese astrology to help you do that, and she is going to be guiding you through that over the next half hour. So I'm going to stop talking and say, welcome, Kathleen. I'm thrilled to have you here.
Well, hello, Morgana. Thank you so much for having me on your program. I am very honored to be in this space with you and sharing with your community. And so I'm very excited to get started with you.
So first question is, how did you get into business feng shui and astrology feng shui?
Yeah. It's really actually my own personal experience with it. I was in this relationship that I thought was going to last forever. And then when it abruptly stopped, I found myself being on my own, really I felt, and this was, my own perception, no resources. I had no direction because I thought my direction was, bookmarked. I thought that this is the path that I was going to take. And then when I had to redefine myself, which was actually when I was 40 years old, I had been reading about feng shui, but it was more from the perspective of entertainment. It wasn't really about, I'm going to use this tool to change my life. So I hired a feng shui consultant myself. The thing that switched from me just taking it on as, I'm the client is when I saw, and I would have to say I was flat on the ground about this relationship breakup, not realizing, things are in cycles. But I had decided that I was going to just try to see what I could do to help myself. And I had regained power. Like I almost forgot about how much power I had. And after I got through my own heartbreak, I just knew that this was something that I was going to do to help other people get through some of the challenges in life, because life is messy. And I have still challenges today, but I know now things are in cycles, and I can pretty much foretell and see what's going to be happening and plan for it.
Excellent. So, why do we need an annual forecast?
Well, you know, we're in a very interesting cycle right now. So maybe I can describe it by what's happening in this particular moment in time. We are in, if you're listening live or close to the replay, we are in the fire monkey year in the 2016. This interview is taking place in the month of August, which I don't know if I could say serendipitously, but uniquely, the pattern repeats itself. It also happens to be a fire monkey year. So we're going through a very strong fire period. And I have an annual talk, and I talked about this at the beginning of the year, the volatility of the year. So we're seeing it in, political campaigns. We're seeing it, explosions, earthquakes all around the world. If you would have saw yesterday when all of the earthquakes were happening in Italy and in the near India, that the timing of it is frightening almost when we analyze it from the timing perspective. So how does that affect a person? What is that fire element and that metal element of the monkey doing to a particular person? So that's why I look at the astrology, and I'm looking at 4 different key pieces, which would be your year of birth. That's going to be your brand, your reputation, your marketing, your capacity to expand in the marketplace. How is that annual energy going to be affecting it? This year it's the monkey, next year it's the rooster, the next year after that the dog. Each of us are going to have a unique experience with that energy, and we can pretty much predict what's going to happen, so you can plan for it instead of getting sideswiped by it and going, oh my God, what just happened? So if you can plan a little bit, it's like your insurance policy. So the month, for example, is about your career, what you're best suited at doing. It's also your character. So, if you need to modify something about your character, that's where we're going to look. Do we have things that are pushing against or helping you in any particular year? And then the day, that's about it's yourself, because the day is really, really important. Everything in your chart is going to reflect back to that particular pillar. So the top element and the bottom animal, which creates a pillar. And then it's also about your partnerships. Now, a lot of times people think that astrology is only for personal endeavors, and there's certainly a lot in an astrology chart that can be about personal endeavors, but I happen to very much enjoy working with business professionals, corporations, and then, so that's a very important pillar. Then the last one is your hour, and the hour is about your soul purpose. So if you know your hour of birth, not everybody does, either due to adoption, the birth certificate got lost, records do happen to get lost. But for the most part, if you can find out what your hour of birth is, it's really going to help you. I can't tell you how many people come to me and it's like, gosh, I just don't know what to do. I'm just like, I'm at a crossroads and I don't know what to do. That's the perfect place to look, is in your hour of birth. And then it's also reflecting your income. Can I go back to something that you said in the introduction that was kind of interesting? I had, I work with some high-profile celebrity clients, and I remember one celebrity client that I was working with, when I looked at astrology, I told him that, you're somebody that needs a routine. So it's not about being OCD. It's about, he particularly needed a routine. Why? Because he had a yang fire element in his chart. So yang fire is like the sun in the sky, comes up every day, sets every day, comes up every day, sets it. So I said, if you could find a routine, and he goes, you know what? I have spent thousands and thousands of dollars on therapy that people tell me that I shouldn't be doing this, and this is what I was born to do. So that, to me, is finally giving people answers. Like, I have a lot of water in my chart. My day pillar has water element in it. And I'm not one to sit still. I might even be fidgeting on camera here for you today, but I can't sit still. Water is not supposed to sit still. So each of these elements are going to give you that, to me, it's like, sort of that relief of what people try to pigeonhole you into versus, I don't fit that square peg in that round hole. I would rather live my life to the fullest, and then you start to flourish. There's a huge difference from that.
That is really interesting because there is so much pain in the world from people who have spent tens or even hundreds of thousands of dollars on so-called coaches who tell them what to do and try to fit them into a box. And if the box doesn't fit, the client feels like a loser and a failure. And really, what the coach is saying may just be wrong for that client. And if the client knew themselves better, they could save themselves all that pain and all that money by focusing on who they really are.
Yeah, and I actually do a lot of HR work. So I have a few clients that really now, they don't do it necessarily as they're screening every person, but you have to get a driver's license to see whether or not they're legal and verify records and all that. So even with the year, month, and day, which I told you had a lot to do with their character, you can find out whether they're loyal, how long they're going to stay. Training somebody is a very lengthy process, and how well compatibility wise they're going to be fitting with that person. So it really can take away a lot of the unnecessary investments that you put into people if they're not a right fit.
Yeah, you probably want people who have like a lot of earth and stability for certain roles and a bunch of fire and pizzazz for other roles.
Well, it depends on the fire. So yes, the earth is, it's about stability. It's about, the person that's going to be the sense of reason, if you will. But too much earth means they might be a little bit lazy. They're going to procrastinate. They're not going to hit deadlines. Too much fire depends on where the fire is. If it's on that top row, like it's a fire monkey year. So if the fire is on top, that means that person wants limelight. So are they going to upstage me? Or are they going to help me from the behind the scenes? So if they are a horse or a snake, for example, that's the animal, and it's the layer that's under the element. They're going to support you from behind the scenes. So it's really important, like what you do, where are they going to fit within your firm to support you, or are they going to compete with you?
Because I am a fire horse, so...
Well, you've got a top and bottom. So what that's saying is that you're a very good spokesperson. That's saying Morgana is a person who is very comfortable in being in the limelight or being on stage, if you will. And I've seen you speak. Obviously, you're very, very poised on stage, as well as you are willing to help the people that you say that you're going to serve. Now, I have seen many people on stage, and I know their astrology, and they can be pitching from the stage, but once you sign that contract, poof, they're gone. They're really not supporting you and have your best interest at heart. So that's something that is, astrology is a key component to understanding, like behavioral styles. You hear about DISC and, the Myers-Briggs, and, you can skew those. You can... let's face it, the day before you got married or, the wedding week, you're in bridal bliss, right? But say something happened. You got, unfortunately, I don't know, like a car crash or something like that. Or I don't know, you dropped a beautiful piece of china that was an heirloom. Let's not go too tragic there. Well, that could be tragic as well. But it could sink your soul, right? It could just sink you. So unless you're lying about your birth date, it's all telling. A behavioral style one, you can skew it a little bit.
Yeah. So,
A little bit.
so because we're leading with money in this show,
Yes.
how do you use a person's chart to unlock their money?
There's several different ways that you would unlock. The first thing you have to do is you have to find out whether you have even money available in your natal chart, and that's your year, month, day, and hour. Then there's also what we call these luck cycles, what current luck you are in. There's also another analysis that I would be looking at. But when I'm looking at the natal chart, let's just keep it simple for right now. What I would have someone do is they would look at their top element. Remember, I said I was the water. Do you remember what you were on your day of birth, that top element that you were?
I didn't bring it, but
That's okay. Anyway,
I think it's Earth.
Okay, let's say it's Earth. So it is the element that you control. So if you are Earth, if you see water anywhere else in the chart, or anywhere that comes in from the year for your luck cycle, but let's just say it is a yang water yang water horse. So it would be a yang element with a yang animal, too theoretical at this point. But anyway, that's water coming into the year. So, that year, we're going to see maybe an uprise in your income or clients and things like that. So it's the element that the day element, that's what you control. So, just very quickly, if you are Earth, since we already talked about that, Earth controls water. It makes this little container and it holds the water. So it's controlling. So then there's metal. Metal controls wood. It chops the wood and keeps it nice and pruned. So wood would be the element that metal, that's the wealth element for metal. If you're water, it's fire. So anyone that's lucky enough to have a water element, yin or yang water, at that day top stem, then this year and next year, because it's a fire rooster next year, we can see some more fire coming. You can see some more money coming into your chart, unless you have already some fire in your chart as well. Then you have it both ways. And then if you're wood, wood is controlling the earth, because the stem comes up through the earth, breaks it open, so it controls it. It has a controlling force on it. And then fire controls metal. It's the one that makes the sword or, hones metal. So first you'd have to see what your day element is on top. And then if you have that controlling element in your chart, then you have naturally wealth. So the other thing we would be looking at is whether or not you produce, because it's a 5-element cycle. Everything I do is 5 elements. So without getting into too much theory, I don't want to confuse the audience here, but it's basically, we would look for another pattern, because it's all in patterns. We would look for the element that you would produce. So we're just going to use you as an example. I won't go through them all, but in an earth cycle, earth is producing metal. Metal comes out of the earth, all of the beautiful jewels and gold and silver and so you produce that. That's what you produce. But in what that means to you, though, is that what you produce is very systematic. It is beautiful. I mean, just look at your set and your presentation, your materials. They're all beautiful, right? Now, someone else might have another producing element, like wood or something, and it would be creative, but it's not going to be as beautiful, if you will. So but it's very systematic what you produce. That's the key here, because each element holds a certain vibration and component. So that would be another way. Now, sometimes people don't have wealth in their chart. They don't have it. They weren't born with it. So they struggle.
Yeah.
So then we look for, okay, what do they produce? Because what you produce, that's your product. So then that would be, okay, we can draw money from there. It's not as easy, but you can draw money from there. And then the other thing is, what is a resource to you? So the resources is your support system. They can help you in many ways. through connections and things like that. So again, using that earth element of your pillar, it would be fire. After the fire burns out, turns to earth. So that's your support system, is the fire element to you. So each one of them, like I said, has a pattern those are the three main things that we can look at. So, oh dear, we don't have any of the three. Then what do you do? So that's where you really strongly start using the feng shui of a space. And I use that anyway, the person is the diagnosis, if you will. I'm looking at that first, and then how well do you fit in the space? And we can raise up the vibration of a person through using the most vibrant areas of a space. Again, in a year, the annual results are going to give you very quick action and quick results.
Okay, so a lot of this is going to be over people's heads because it's so specific and there's so many rules. And it's not like Western or Vedic astrology where you have like one of 12. You have like a bunch. So, and I remember when I met you in Northern California, not only do I have my month, year, day, hour, and millisecond, and elements and animals and all that kind of stuff, but I also have my directions where if I sit in a certain direction, it's good for meditation. If I sit in another direction, it's good for making money. So I think that you have a gift for everybody to get started with that. With their own business astrology chart. And for all of you who are listening right now on iTunes, surprise, surprise, this is all being videotaped so you can actually see us. We look like twins. At morganaradio.com. And we also are going to have the link to Kathleen's Gift at morganaradio.com. Could you please describe what they'll get from their business astrology chart?
Absolutely. Well, first of all, the astrology chart obviously is going to be free, and it's color-coded, so I would absolutely print it out in color. And the colors actually mean the 5 elements. Again, they were fire, earth, metal, water, and wood. So you're going to be a compilation of all of those. And I want you to look just up at the natal chart for right now. So the natal chart is going to tell you, just those 4 categories. Now, if you don't know your hour of birth, just click don't know hour of birth, and then it will do its own little calculation. And we're just kind of guesstimating at that point because we really can't put in a specific hour. So you can't really read that as well. But first thing I would see is if you have all 5 of those colors there, which are, red, yellow, kind of a charcoal color, blue, and green. If you have them, all 5 of them, believe it or not, life isn't that bad. You may go through bumps in your life, but honestly, you're playing with a complete deck. So just like I was saying, some people don't have their wealth element. So if you're missing one of those colors and it's your wealth element, you're already compromised a little bit. So that's the first thing I would say. Then you're going to get some autoresponders that are going to start telling you little pieces of the chart, and that will help you understand it. The piece that you were just talking about that is so powerful is just bringing in the feng shui application using your birth year and your gender. So, we have to discern whether you're a male or female, and that is going to put you in a certain number. And then this number is going to populate these power directions for you. Now, how you use that is there's going to be 4 positive and 4 challenging. You basically want to avoid those. And what I would love to see your listeners do is to at least put their computer screen, laptop, their angle of their desk. And by the way, these directions go with you for life. So you can use them at trade shows, you can use it at Starbucks, you can use it at the hotel room and your office as well. Now, I want you to hear this. I may have to say this again and tell me if you understand it and if I need to repeat it in another way. The feng shui directions are your personal power directions. That does not mean that is the feng shui positive directions of your space. They're very different.
It's where your body is going to be.
Your body as the antenna, And it is now, so let's say that your power directions are, um, you would be facing northwest for your money direction. So there's a way we can bring in money. You may not have it in your chart. You can start using your body to go, okay, let me start attracting money because it is in alignment with you yourself, that's your astrology, with the energy of the space, and that's how we can make that alignment and start attracting money.
Yeah.
Now, if you have money, it's just going to help you bring more.
Well, yeah, so the building you're in will have its own directions, but and by the way, you should know your directions before you move somewhere so that your building is facing in one of your strong personal directions.
Good girl.
How do I know that? Because I spent thousands of dollars on this stuff 20 years ago before I met you, and you're giving it away for free. So,
I go beyond that. That's why.
well, yeah. I mean, this is a great gift, and you want to know your personal directions because, as you said, you're going to take them with you everywhere. So when you travel or when you buy a house or whatever, you want to know what's your good sleeping direction, which is going to be maybe different than your making money and conquering the world direction. So,
Absolutely.
yeah.
And if I can also say another thing about those directions, when you are standing or sitting, your body is in action. So it is in a yang position. So you're awake, you're doing something. So that would be, you would be facing those directions. But when you lie down, your head, your crown chakra takes over the energetic channel flow. And so that would be your, so let's say the northwest was your prosperity direction, you would be facing that. Now, I don't actually recommend sleeping, especially if you suffer from sleep problems. I would not sleep with your head in the prosperity direction because it's too active. It's way too active. So if any of your listeners are encountering some obstacles, I would be using your health direction first and foremost. You need to solve your problems before you can create anything, right? So that is the if there's any tip that I can give, that would be it. If you are suffering emotionally, physically, mentally, spiritually, financially, start rebuilding by putting your body in your own personal health direction, because it helps you not only to revitalize yourself, it is also very good for removing obstacles.
Oh, that's beautiful. And it's so comprehensive. Let's see if is there anything else that we need to know about the combination of our times and our locations?
Am I able to tell them just a little bit about how they can still make the best of this year through their space?
Please,
Right.
yeah.
So basically, what everybody needs to do is just like if they have one of these, all they need to do is, that's right. You just need to get a free compass on here. Don't spend any money on, just download a free compass. And this will serve you so much anyway, because I've always say, like to do to do your personal directions, you're going to need a compass anyway. But what you want to do is you want to find the annual feng shui of your house, and I'm going to give you the directions for the monkey, and this will go all the way through. You still have September all the way through the end of January, of 2017. So that's already like 5+ months that we still have to tap into these benevolent energies. Why wait when your life starts today, right? So after you have just draw out the sketch of your floor plan, and then you need to find these 4 directions. I'm going to give you 4 really good directions to make sure that you use, and then 2 you kind of maybe want to watch out for. All right, first you want to look at the southeast sector of your building, and the southeast sector is going to be very good for anyone that is looking for mentors or for a little bit of extra help, that's going to be a very good direction for you this year, as well as if you have a snake in your chart, even better, because that's where the snake resides in the southeast. The southwest, the east is also going to be very, very good. And this is more like long-term growth, if you will, because of certain energies that are there. So the east is very good. And it's also good if you have a rabbit in your chart. So look to see if you have that. So this is where it starts layering up, right? So, we were saying about what's in our chart. It may not be just looking for that wealth element. If you have an animal that's benevolent and vibrant for the year, that automatically boosts you up. So we already know the snake and the rabbit, really good. Then in the west sector, we have very good energy as well. This is actually very good for, development, developing a product or something like that. It's very good for that. And this is where you have the rooster. So if you have a rooster in your chart, also very good. And then we go down to the northwest sector. So the northwest sector is where we want to see some benevolent energy as well. And there is the pig, where the pig resides. So those four animals, rooster, pig, snake, and the rabbit, are also good. Even if you don't have them, they're still vibrant energies. What I want everyone to avoid, though, is the northeast sector, because the northeast sector has the most challenging energy. And anyone, even if you're just looking at the room, like a one room, like you may be renting one room, it's like the northeast sector, kind of leave it alone. And what I mean by leaving it alone is we don't want to be banging on the wall. We don't want to be moving masses of pieces of furniture. So we want to keep that as clear as possible. And all of the areas that I mentioned, the east, southeast, the west, and the northwest, if nothing else, just keep it in order. So don't have a lot of piles and stuff. So if those areas are kind of cluttered, that's where you can free up some energy by just cleaning the area up. So classical feng shui is about finding the good and best directions, keeping those vibrant and using them. It's not about a bunch of trinkets and bells and firecrackers. That's not classical feng shui. And I practice what is practiced by, the ancient dynasties that conquered and ruled for millenniums. So that's
beautiful.
Hopefully that will help.
And so for those of you tuning in months or years from now, again, click on the link at morganaradio.com. Get into Kathleen's world, because she will send updates. Right now we're in Fire Monkey, but Fire Monkey will change at the end of January. We become, I guess, Fire Rooster. Yep, I'm listening, and there will be new rules and new directions for then. Yes. Oh, awesome. Any final words of wisdom before we sign off?
Oh, I think that's good. I don't want to overwhelm. And if everyone just downloaded their chart and looked at those directions in their space, they're off to an awesome start. So we have to start with the basics to start the nice foundation. I think that's a good place to be.
And absolutely, go directly to Kathleen for personalization and guidance, because this is a very complex, ancient discipline that obviously we don't expect you to master in 30 minutes. So get the guidance that you need and want, especially before you hire the wrong person. Thank you so much, Kathleen.
Well, thank you, Morgana. This was a great pleasure to spend this time with you and hanging out with your community. I'm so honored again, and thank you for the opportunity to be with your community today.